Hi, this is John Gibbons, better known as Gibby, and welcome to Red, White, and Blue Jays. I traveled all the way over here to Great Britain, the motherland, just for this show. So if I look a little tired, you'll know why.
Swing and a drive.
Welcome to Red, White, and Blue Jays, the podcast home of Blue Jays Fans UK, a group connecting Blue Jays fans around the UK and beyond, and telling their story. And now, here's the host of Red, White, and Blue Jays, Steve Hunter.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Red, White and Blue Jays, and a massive warm welcome to today's guest. I still can't quite believe that I'm about to introduce to you the amazing former manager, the skip, the one and only John Gibbons. Gibby, thank you so much for spending some time.
Hey, I'm glad to do it. You know, I've always wanted to go to Europe. I haven't been there yet, so let's pretend like I'm sitting right across from you.
Absolutely. It's funny enough, I put out on Twitter yesterday that I was going to be chatting with you, and I've done that with some of my former guests. I've had people like Shai Davidi and Mike Wilner have come on, and Ricky Romero, and some other guys.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So we've had some good guests, and I normally just get a bit of feedback in terms of some questions that people ask, and I get a few back. Put it out yesterday. I literally have got hundreds of questions that people want to ask you, and I think that
awesome.
just shows the love that people have for you, John. And
it's amazing, really, how this is kind of of course, I spent two terms out in Toronto. I got hired for and then got fired, and then they brought me back. And the first go around was totally different. People didn't really know me. The team wasn't very good. I was tied in with the general manager, J.P. Richard, and he was kind of, he wasn't viewed great there. He was a brash New Englander, right? And so he come back the second round, Alex Anthopoulos, boy wonders there, and he brings me back. And we had always been very close and made friends. And it didn't start off real well. I thought, you're crazy to bring me back because I wasn't that popular. And then slowly things developed, and all of a sudden we caught fire, and it's a whole different thing. Now, people, that's the nature of the beast. Everybody loves a winner. Everybody associated with it. But I think it's more than that. I think people got to know me a little better. They understood. I try to be genuine. I'm not a politician, so I kind of shoot it straight like most Canadians do. And that's kind of how it all started, really. And it's been wonderful, because after that first go round, I'm going. That's why I was a little hesitant to come back that second time. So really, they didn't. They weren't real. Fond of me, but that's how things can change. But there's no question, winning helps everything, right?
Absolutely. And I remember, some of the sort of social media stuff in terms of, fire Gibby, and then, Gibby the best. It changes in a moment, doesn't it? And I think one thing that has changed in a moment is that you are now on social media. And it's just incredible and that's how we've managed to connect, which is extraordinary. Because I never thought, to be honest, that you would ever do that. So what was the...
You or me? I didn't
So what's the thinking? Because you came on Twitter, and then, you're on Instagram as well.
Right. Well, and people say, I'm not having a midlife crisis by any means. But what happened at the end of the 18, when I was cut loose, fired, whatever you want to call it, it's all of those things. A couple of the reporters, really good ones, and writers, they asked me if I ever wrote a book, they'd love to write it. And I said, a book, nobody's going to read that. I don't, whatever. So anyway, that kind of died. I thought that's not going to happen. So anyway, one thing led to another. It's a long story, but eventually the people approached me about writing a book, and I thought, you know what, I'll have a little fun with it. And then they said, well, let's do a podcast, talk a little bit about baseball, because there's not a whole lot of managers, if any, I don't think, out there doing it. So anyway, the people putting it all together say, listen, are you on social media? I said, no. They said, well, you to get any kind of sponsorship or anything like that, you need to be on social media, and because they want to see proof and all that. I'm thinking, well, so that's kind of how it all started. It wasn't necessarily I kind of like the hibernate, disappeared a lot. But it necessary, and that's how it's all started. It's kind of been overwhelming. I have to have all my kids help me and things like that. But it's been kind of cool though too.
Brilliant. I think the world has set on fire since you've come on social media, and actually one of the people asking me question is when's Gibby going to get the blue tick of approval next to his name so we know it's absolutely genuine? Because I had to take a second take when I first saw it, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I think everybody did, but yeah, that's in the works. I guess my daughter's been helping me out, and another gentleman that's going to be my partner on the podcast. And they applied for it. And they said it takes a week, 10 days, something like that to get it. So it's not like it's automatic,
It's coming.
And you call in to get it done. You can't talk to a live individual. It's all automated thing. So it's been kind of a pain, but that should be coming. Yeah, I understand that because I've tried to track down some old buddies that played for me, and I'm thinking, and I've had to text them, is this the real you? But absolutely. It's the real me.
Yeah, here you are, and we're very, very grateful for it. So in terms of just understanding the UK, obviously, I don't know how much you know about in terms of Blue Jays support that's over this side of the pond, but there is a massive amount of Jays fans here in the UK. And I think a lot of it is because of the relationship between the UK and Canada, particularly. I think also a number of us have done vacations out to Toronto and stuff. Were you ever aware of sort of a wider audience than what you saw at the ballpark?
And people kind of related to there's one major league team in this big old country of Canada, right? Mm. And that naturally, there, like you said, the connection between Great Britain and Canada. And so it made a lot of sense, and I thought, because we won that country over, I mean, that's they've always been fans of the Blue Jays, and it only made sense that with the connection, there's got to be fans over in Europe, especially Great Britain, and so they kind of monopolize it, and plus when I look at the currency and everything like that, I think the picture of the Queen's on there, so there's got to be fans over there, right?
Totally, loads of us, and I think we've all got different memories, different stories of games we've been to, things that we remember, first games and all that sort of stuff. And it was great over the weekend celebrating the '92 World Series. It was obviously 2 years before I first saw the Jays, but of course a lot of the players were the first players that I saw in '94. So we've all got different memories and loads of memories about you and how you manage the team. Perhaps we can dive back into some of those moments. I mean, it goes without saying that I'd love to just get inside what happened, particularly in Game 5 in 2015. Extraordinary series. Jays obviously lost a couple of games at home, go down to Texas, get those 2 games back. Coming back to Toronto, where were you at in terms of expectation? Did you believe that this was the moment going into that game? I mean, what was your mindset for that Game 5 of 2015?
Well, everybody knows what happened. We made some great trades at the trade deadline, and we just caught fire. We just took off, and now there's no stopping us. And so we get into the postseason. We're planning on winning it all. I mean, David Price, Tulowitzki, a lot of guys were at it, right? And then, of course, it all starts, and not only that, what is it, 23 years? You talk about 94, you started watching. After the 92 and 93, the World Championship seasons, then it was lean, man, for up until 15, nothing happened, right? And what's pretty amazing? That people would always tell me when I first started out there as a coach and then as a manager, if you guys are legit, come August and September, and the fans, think you're in it, you watch what happens here. They're going to come out in droves in the sport. And he said they're tired of being sold a bill of goods that the team's going to be competitive, because that wasn't the case. So anyway, sure enough, this is what's happening. I mean, it's unbelievable. So now we go into the playoffs. I think everybody thought we were going to run roughshod over the rest of the league, but short 3-game series, we dropped the first 2 at home where we were really good at home, and I think it kind of stunned everybody. But, I'm a very confident guy. I never panic. And the players that group was the same way. I never sensed any doubt. So, it's funny. Joe Torre, the great manager of the Yankees, and played all those years. He called me before when we went down to Texas. And he says, "Hey, I've been there. We've done that. Don't you worry about a thing," which was kind of cool, And he worked for the league at the time. But I knew that already, And the great part was we're heading down to Texas where I live, and we'd always play good there, And I thought, we'll snap out of this thing, but we got to win 3 straight. So we go down there. and we we win the first two, and it's okay. Now they're shocked, and now there's not much regrouping for them. But what's interesting in ball now came the big dilemma. Even though we played really well, the big dilemma now was, and we hear about all the time, who's going to pitch Game 5, right? And to lay that all out for you, Brett Cecil, one of the best relievers in baseball at the time, arguably top 2 or 3. That first game in the playoffs against Texas, he blew out his calf, right? So that was a big blow to us. We needed him, right? And then our other left-handed, Aaron Luke, had to spend some time in the hospital with his wife who had complications when she was pregnant. So now we have no left-hander, right? So anyway, David Price, pitched his game. He comes to me, said, "Listen, I know we need a lefty. I'm good. If you need me out of the bullpen, use me," right? I said, "What? Team player. This guy's going to be a free agent. He didn't have to do this, what have you." So anyway, okay, I feel much better about that. Everybody's on board. So we go into that first game down in Texas, and we get him up in the bullpen, right? This guy's been starting. He's over 200 innings every year. I'm trying to make this short because we're trying to find a starter for Game 5, right? So anyway, I go to him the Sunday morning. We win that game, and I said, "Listen, you're up in the bullpen last night. If I get you up today, you're in the game no matter what, right?" So the situation came, even with a nice lead, he gets into the game. So he pitched it. He helped us win that Game 4, but that puts him out for Game 5, right? And so we're gonna lean on Stroman. Stroman's been pitched in a lot of big games and has already stepped up in this playoff. So now the big controversy. Well, you did that on purpose. So Price wouldn't have to pitch because he's never won a game as a starter. No, that wasn't true. We're trying to win those 2 games before. So anyway, naturally it fell into Stroman's hand, but it was kind of it was kind of like a conspiracy theory. Anyway, so we go into that game. We're feeling good, and we're at home. We knew even though we lost 2, we're really good at home. And of course, the game starts off, and both pitchers throwing really well. And then that infamous play, where Odor, the bad guy, is on third base, and Russell Martin, he throws that ball back to mound and hits Chu's bat, and it's like, I'd been a catcher my whole career, and I had and coached long enough. I cannot remember seeing that, so I'm honest. Well, it hits him, it's dead ball, but he comes in to score, and then all hell broke loose, and the umpires are trying to figure out, make sure they got the rule right. I didn't know it. And then the fans are livid, right? They're thinking this can't be happening. They're throwing stuff. So finally they figure it out. They called New York and they get it right. It's a live ball. So they go up a run. Now but it's getting late. So no doubt, but you're down to the wire now. I mean, and they got a good pitching staff. We need to score 1 to tie that baby, but we're trying to win this thing. So anyway, then the inning where it all broke loose, right? They were very similar. Texas was a very similar team to us, full of power hitters. Just a good all around slug it out team with some good pitching. But their defense was probably the best. It could have been the best in all of baseball in that infield, right? And there's three Gold Glovers I know. They make 3 errors, man. Just open up, some of the best players in the game. That's because that place was so loud and you could feel your heartbeat and they were shaking. And I guarantee that was a part of it. And the pressure of a winner take all game. But it was almost like the baseball guys were saying, you know what?
Yeah.
You guys are too good. You deserve this, what have you, right?
A quote. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Because you remember watching it. And as we said, earlier, I'm watching it at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is here, pacing around our living room, thinking we can't lose on that play. I mean, that and it's just feeling this incredible sick feeling inside my stomach that cannot be the story of this series.
Right. It was turned into a fairy tale season, and it said, no, this can't happen. Plus, a lot of people wouldn't have got out of that stadium alive, if that had stood up, right?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, but everything just fell in line. The baseball gods said, you know what, we're gonna make this real exciting. And sure enough, a little hit here, a couple guys get on, the errors. That's part of baseball. You know what? if you don't make the defense wins too, right? So, Donaldson throws that little hit out over Odor's head. Even the physical errors you saw there, even the little ball that Donaldson hit over Odor's head, because Odor's a really agile guy. He probably normally plays that, but he makes that, but he's going backwards and his feet get kind of tangled, and that drops in, and now it's something's happening here, right? And then the big boy, Mr. Blue Jay, the face of the franchise through some lean years, comes to the plate, and he did what he does best, and in the moment, Jose is as good as anybody rising to the occasion, right? And sure enough, he did, and bam. And then you got the other infamous play, the bat flip, that turned around the world. And what that was, is it'll be remembered forever. It's almost even, it's right up there with Joe Carter's walk-off home run in the World Series. But, in a lot of ways, I think it's more important to people. I think it's more, it's like there's just something about it, that, we didn't go on to win the World Series, but there's just something, because, the country was in love and the fans, with those 92 and 93 teams, but there was something about this team, the 15 team, that they really gravitated to. We had a bunch of volatile guys, in a way, some misfits, right? And easy guys to relate to. So anyway, so I didn't even see the bat flip. I'm watching Hosey hits that ball, right? I'm watching it. I'm just watching going, blowing, go. Anyway, then sure enough, then I heard, and there it goes. I caught it late. And of course, then the frustration on their part, and they think, they thought Encarnacion was saying something to the pitcher, and bench is emptied, and but we kind of, we had some battles with Texas. It was actually one of our rivalries. So there was a lot of I don't say hatred's not the word, but there was a lot of we didn't like each other. Put it that way.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair to say.
Yeah, and of course that carried over into 16.
It did,
and then we met him again at the end, but. Then it unfolded, our young relievers, Osuna, who, the young closer, wasn't even supposed to be on the team, was supposed to be in Double-A to start the year. He makes the team just out of necessity. Now he's closing out the biggest game in 25, 23 years, whatever. And it was, it was really incredible. It's hard to describe, but I'm telling you, it was almost meant to be. It was supposed to be that way because we were too good. They were a great team themselves, but you know what? There was just something we all had that feeling. You know what? It wasn't going to end this way. Ultimately we did not win it all, and I think that was the year we could have done it. But we got beat by a really good Kansas City team, who I had before I came back to Toronto. I was a bench coach there for 3 years. Saw all these young kids coming up, and I knew how good they were. So, but yeah, I tell you what, I can't describe it. And that just kind of solidified this team in the eyes of. Blue Jay Nation, and me personally, being the manager, anybody could have managed that team, and come out on top one way or the other,
Yeah. It was an extraordinary team. And I think having sort of seen in 2013, I think 2013 was meant to be a big year for the Jays, and that one just didn't happen. And then obviously building back into 2015, as you mentioned earlier, the trade deadline was the thing that ignited the nation in terms of Tulowitzki's coming. No, and David Price obviously was the big cherry on the cake that year.
But I'm going to tell you this. Dave went 9-1, 10-1 with us. Naturally, if you can pick up an ace, that's huge, right? Every team needs that. But our big problem early on, we went into that trade deadline basically around 500. In the year before, we were basically the same record. I think we were a game or two out of the wild card. We were playing down in Houston. Trade deadline came around. Nothing. We didn't do anything. Because there was no money, right? And then Batista and Casey Jansen was our closer. They came out publicly and kind of ripping the team for not doing anything, right? And then we kind of disappeared. So going into that next year, Alex Anthopoulos is a brilliant baseball guy. He remembered that too, and so he saved some money. Everybody thinks, well, you ought to be able to go to your owners and they give you whatever you want. It doesn't always happen that way. Some places maybe, but not everywhere. Right? So he kept some money aside so in case we went through that again, now he's got some things he can do. Sure enough, here we go. We're almost identical spot. And he had saved enough money where, when he traded for Price, whatever Price was making the rest of the year prorated, enough to cover that. The Tulowitzki and the trade for Reyes was basically a wash. And then, so we were able to make those moves. And, but everybody talks about Price, this and that, and no question, Dave was key guy. But our defense, Reyes was getting older, right? And busted his butt, tried hard, but he couldn't move like he did when he was a younger kid anymore. So balls would get through that infield that are supposed to be plays that are supposed to be made in the big leagues, and that was hurting us. And we had the best offense in baseball, but you know what? Sometimes you can't overcome that, right? And then we were also playing Matt Stairs. We played Colabello and Matty wasn't in there. Matty was there earlier. Danny Valencia, two infielders. We played with them some in the outfield. It's like, and they, in all fairness to them, they couldn't get to certain balls. So our defense was kind of holding us back, right? But then, Tulowitzki came in and cleaned that right up, and it was like a totally new team. And then we ended up getting Ben Revere, too, in left field. He made a huge difference.
He's brilliant. I love Ben Revere. Thought he was excellent.
Right. Price was huge, but everybody overlooks the defense, the improvement of that. But it was a fun ride. It was.
What was
I look back now.
Sorry, I was going to say, where
did it all go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a brilliant run. We all have amazing memories of that season, particularly. What was it like actually managing lots of big personalities? How much are you actively, particularly in a game like Game 5 in that inning, seventh inning? How much are you saying? How much are you holding back? How much are you letting your players just do what they do? What's that dynamic like for a manager?
Well, when you get to that point in the season, and then they know who you are, it wasn't an easy group to manage. Let me put it that way. It was kind of a high maintenance group because we had, I guess you could call them a bunch of renegades, in a lot of ways, There was some of the most disliked guys in baseball. Batista, unless he was on your own team, other guys around the league didn't like him because he was vocal. He'd get on the umpires all the time, questioning calls, and he beat you. And if you were an opponent, he beat you a lot because he was that good. So naturally, a lot of them didn't like him, right? Donaldson was the same way. He wore it on his sleeve. He'd complain and he'd fight you if he had to. And so that was kind of and those were our two big guys. So that's kind of who we were, right? And I didn't mind that because you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. We're not necessarily there to make friends, So it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy group to manage because you got to put out some fires. You got to make sure everybody's not. This group you didn't have. They were always focused, but it wasn't like there was usually something always going on, right?
Yeah, there's always something going on.
So anyway, but by the time you get to the playoffs, right? Yeah, more so with this group, right? So you get to the playoffs and then you get to that final game. It's basically, and what I found over time for watching and listening, talking to some of the better managers in history, most of the time they just get out of the way. Baseball is not a tremendous game of strategy and X's and O's like some of the other sports. It kind of lays itself out, and it kind of certain times of the game kind of dictate what you're supposed to do anyway. So basically, baseball, in my view, and a lot of other people's that I respect view, you just got to hold them together, right? Get them to play every day and control the pitching staff, handle the pitching staff. And so I just wanted to make sure these guys didn't look at me and think that he's panicking. Look, he's tight, man. He can't even walk, right? Because that's not who I am, and that's not going to help anything, right? They're the show, but they actually look to the manager for, sometimes to see what kind of mood he's in. And I just let them do their thing, man, and just got out of their way. And I knew, there was just something in this group. There's no guarantees, but I knew this group had something left in it. And then it go even like 16. Go on to the 15. I knew 100% we were going to come back in that, in that game against Kansas City. We got eliminated. we had second and third no outs. It's like it didn't happen that time, but you know, my feeling and my confidence in this group never wavered.
No, brilliant. And one thing I think you're well known for is how much you stood up for your players. I spent last night. You probably wouldn't even be aware of this, but I spent last night. I thought I'm going to look up on YouTube John Gibbons ejections from games, and somebody's put a compilation of your every ejection that you've had from a game since 2013 to 2018. Any idea how long that video is? If you put them all together?
No, you know, I've glanced at it. I've never totally watched it.
It's about,
all I know is I'm probably lucky they came up with instant replay or where you can question it, because, you know, otherwise we would have got ejected a lot more, you know. But the thing about that is people ask me, oh, did you do that sometimes just to fire your team up? No, you know, if you feel that's going to fire up your team, you know, I think you're a phony, you know. I mean, it's like, and people see right through that. Mine came out of frustration, and like you said a minute ago, defending my guys, you know, because if you want them to fight for you, you better fight for them, right? And most of the time they were right, and it's part of the game, you know. And it's, you know, I told you we had some players that complained a lot about pitches and things like that, and there's times the umpire stuck it to them. I mean, it's there's no secret about it, even with the, you know, the strike zone things, the animated strike zones you can watch now. And even with that, because normally that the umpires have to be on their best behavior, but still they would do it, and it was obvious. And so I can't let them get away with that, you know. And you know, you got to fight for them. And not only that, sometimes the team's playing like crap. I don't want to watch the whole game, so I'm gonna get ejected and go watch it on TV, right? Yeah. So, but never was it. I had to fake one and come up with something. It was you know, a frustration or defending the guys.
Yeah, and I wonder whether there. I mean, I didn't count them up, but there were probably some players. I don't know whether the umpires were harsh on them, but perhaps those who were slightly more aggressive in their stance anyway. So there seemed to be quite a few for Brett Laurie. Obviously, Bautista was in there, Donaldson was in there. You know, so the guys who have got a little bit more heat tended to be in and around the storyline of when you got involved. So what?
Hey,
so
the thing about those guys you just mentioned, you know, Donaldson, you know, MVP in the MVP year. You know, Bautista, same type of player, right? Brett Laurie, you know, probably had more talent than anybody, right? But you know, he went to that point that those guys were yet. And so when he complained to the umpires, you know, they were going to stick it to him, because you know he had no cachet, man. He was, you know what, he you know, it's like, kid, pay your dues, put up the big numbers, then you can complain, you know. But he was volatile. Yeah, I guarantee, you know, if he's having first couple of bats of the game, if Brett gets off to a bad start, it's probably going to be a long night, and I might get ejected.
So one of the questions that the guys asked is, so once you've been ejected, what do you do? Do you go and eat a bag of popcorn in the clubhouse and just watch the game on the TV? Is that what happens?
Just go into the coach's office, kick back, maybe drink you know, Budweiser or some wine, whatever you want they got back there. You know, it's funny when we were talking about Texas so much a while ago, when remember we came back in 2016, and you know, after Batista's bat flip, you know, they raised hell about it, right? And what's so bad about that is nobody celebrates home runs more than the Texas Rangers, you know. But now all of a sudden they're upset, right? And so anyway, so everybody figures, well, they're going to drill him because of the bat flip, and so we go into 16. And we play him like 3 games at home. I don't know, it was May or June or something. They don't throw at him. Even Jose knew he even told me, he said, you know what, they're probably going to throw at me. I'm going to just go first base. It's over with. Said, hey, all right, great. So they don't do anything, right? So then we play another team, and then we go right back down to Texas for a 3 or 4 game set. They still don't throw at him, right? Until the very last game, his last at bat. And I thought, you got to be kidding me, man. You know, if you're man enough to do it early, so our team can, you know, hey, retaliate, and then, you know, it's over with. But so anyway, but that final game that we were going to play him that year in the regular season, the game that they did hit Jose, early in the game, Aaron Sanchez was pitching, and I thought the umpire was bad calling balls and strikes. So he's he's kind of arguing with the umpires. When you're pitcher and the umpire, when you can tell, that they're arguing, it's probably not going to be good. Usually the pitchers tell them, hey, zip it, man, because they'll stick it to you. So anyway, a bad call or something. Well, the first base coach, Tim Leeper, had been thrown out earlier in the game for arguing something. So I end up getting tossed a couple innings later. So I go into we're down there in Texas, into the manager's office. So Tim Leeper and I were sitting around my desk and both got our shoes kicked off, right? And we're watching the game on TV and drinking a couple buds or something. Sure enough, on TV, they drill him, right? And Jose, of course, he did what he normally did. He said he was going to do. He went down to first base. Okay. And then, the ground ball, and then here he goes, right? And, the fun, real quick before I get into the rest of that, that's the way baseball used to be played, right? If somebody got drilled, let's say, a hitter, if he didn't charge him out, or, if it wasn't that big a deal, he'd go down to first base. And if there's a ground ball hit, their thinking is, I'm gonna kill that shortstop or second baseman who's ever covered. And that was, the middle infielders knew that, right? So you'd see a lot of middle infielders throw sidearm or remember how Tony Fernandez used to throw down there is real close to the ground. That's to make the runner that's running at you get down, get out of the way so you don't get hurt, right? Or you don't have any collision. So that's kind of how the middle infielders guarded against that. They would drop down, the runners, okay, but sometimes the runners would go after him and knock him down. But then it was over. But that was kind of the way a guy that got drilled with a pitch retaliated, and everybody knew that. And players handled it themselves. Okay, so sure enough, he gets a ground ball, and he comes up, and he comes off the bag. And what you never see in baseball anyway is a punch thrown, hardly, right? You get all that hugging and kissing and false bravado, right? And sure enough, Odor, they say he was a boxer. I don't know if he's Venezuelan or where he's actually from. And he got Jose. He got him good, but he stayed on his feet, man. He staggered him. He stayed on his feet. So anyway, all hell breaks loose. So Leeper and I are in the manager's office, no shoes on, going, oh, man, let's go. So we go run. We throw our shoes on. We go running out there. And, sure. And then, it turned into a pretty good brawl. So after it was over, they asked me some questions. I said, basically, I told them through that it was gutless. If you're going to hit him, you shouldn't have anyway, because you guys are worse than we are at celebrating. You should have done it early on. The base. I don't know. It's funny. They call it baseball's unwritten rule, and everybody complains about it. Well, that's part. What's part about it. It's like any sport. There's certain things you do and certain things you don't, right? So I said it was gutless, what have you, and so anyway. A couple of days later, they're handing out fines, right? So and nowadays, if there's a brawl, there's a monetary fine and then usually a suspension. So I get the letter from the commissioner, and he's fining me like $4,500, $4,000 or something. I'm going, what? I got the exact same fine that Odor did through the punch. I wasn't even out there, but he got me for. Once somebody's been ejected from the game, whether it's a player or a coach, they're not allowed to return to the field if a fight breaks out, right? To me, that's stupid as far as a coach goes. You coach manager, you want them out there trying to break things up and policing it, right? So another kind of stupid rule that baseball came up with, right? I get it, the players, okay, fine. But if you want to call us authority for a team, gosh, how stupid is that? Anyway, so I get nailed with a big fine. I get suspended 3 days, and Leeper got 1 day, and he didn't get his fine wasn't quite as bad. But it's like I got fined as much as the guy that threw the punch, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? Then so the commissioner's handing out all these fines, and it's like the worst thing in the world. And then like the Texas, kind of the way the world is now. The Texas Rangers, even like the minor league teams, are like, promoting, like you get cups, Odor, and just get things or pictures or T-shirts showing Odor hitting Batista, and everybody's capitalizing on it. And then the commissioner is trying to be the tough guy and go. It's like, no wonder we got problems in this world, right? So anyway, so that was kind of all that. And then of course we met them at the end in 16, and that's how you take out your frustration, or you get back with them, swept in 3 straight. So we were a thorn in the side of the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, it was a great rivalry over that particular era. It's fantastic, fantastic to watch. Yeah, and so much drama going on in all of those games, and watching it. I do remember when you got to the postseason in 2016, there was quite a few posters and memes going around about, you might have punched us in May or whatever it was, but we'll knock you out in October type stuff going. It's great.
It was beautiful. And it's funny though, Odor's still playing. He's in Baltimore.
He is.
I'm sure you've seen him. And they were playing in Toronto, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I wonder what his reception is.
It's terrible.
Yeah, he did hit a big home run to beat Toronto, I think, down in Baltimore. But I thought, he must be getting ridden pretty hard up there in Toronto.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of a rough ride from the crowd. Right, I've got a couple of questions that I really want to squeeze in.
Take your time.
So, Scott Carson, who, for those listening in who may not know who he is, so Scott is in the TV booth with Buck and Dan and the other guys, and so helps out there. So he said this to me. He said, "Ask Gibby if he's got a solid recipe for serrano peppers and tell him who's asking. He'd get a kick out of that." So there's obviously a story there.
Scotty, man, how Scotty know I was on here?
Because I put it out on Twitter. He follows me on Twitter.
I know, but I haven't received any messages from him when I got on there. So I will now.
Okay,
he's one of the good guys, man. And does a great job. With the all those guys up there, and I don't know if he's talking about the peppers. Maybe the jalapeno. I don't eat serrano peppers. I mean, jalapenos or something.
Yeah, no. He said ask him about a solid recipe for serrano peppers. So he's obviously got something in mind there.
Does he think I cook or something? I know how to work my way around to make things.
Quite possibly.
Hey, I'm a fast food king, man.
Brilliant.
I did get remarried a couple years ago, and this gal can cook, so now I'm a little bit spoiled. Yeah. But I'm not cooking anything up. But you tell Scotty hello, man.
I will. I will pass that on. Okay, let's ask a couple. So I think one of the most common questions I had was, would you ever consider going back into management? Is that something that would be on your radar?
Yeah, I would love to. I after I got fired in 18, when remember when they had the Astros cheating scandal, where they stealing the signs and banging the garbage can. So AJ Hinch, when he got suspended, actually got suspended for a year, and then later that day the owner came out and fired him. Right, so he's a buddy of mine. So when I saw him on the news that he got suspended, I sent him a text, hang in there, blah blah blah. So anyway, he texted. No, actually that night I was heading to Atlanta, my new employer where I scout, where Anthopoulos is the running that team, and he called me and said, "Hey, would you love a shot at this job?" I thought, I just got fired, my buddy. I don't want to replace a buddy on these kind of circumstances. He said, "Don't worry, everything's good. He knows the owner pretty good." And he at least throw my name in there. So sure enough, a couple of days later, I get a call from the owner for the Astros, and he says, "You want to come down here for an interview?" I said, "I'd love to." I grew up in Texas. I'm not like John Farrell. Remember John Farrell when he was his dream job was the Red Sox. He finally gets first time managing a team, right? Get somebody's going out on a limb, giving him up to, and you come out and say you got a dream job somewhere else. I don't know how stupid you got to be, but. Anyway, but no, these weren't my dream jobs, but it was closer to home. So I went down there, and I thought it really went really well. And of course, Dusty Baker ended up getting. He's done a great job. But it was a couple weeks after that, the Red Sox called because under the same investigation, because Alex Cora, was with Houston at the time when all this was going on. He was under investigation for the same thing because he went to Boston. They won it all, right? So they're looking into some things. So I went up there, and I thought that interview went well too. You know what? My mom and dad and all my family were born and raised in Boston, and so that's all my roots. Yeah, my father was military. That's how I ended up down in Texas. But so it's like Boston. I wasn't like Farrell. It's my dream job, but that's where all my family was. I said, "Hey man, maybe I'll finish it off up here. Who knows? I can see some family, right?" So I went up there, went really well. And what happens is they didn't nothing much happened with Cora. And so they kept Ron at Renicky, to keep some continuity. So basically, what I'm saying, that was my interviews since, and yeah, my dream, and I have a great desire to get back in there, but I haven't been able to shake anything loose. And I don't know. I would think I think I have a good reputation in the game. I do. I've been kind of labeled, I think, anti-analytics, which is so far from the truth. But I mean, it's big in the game now. I'm into analytics. I just don't get carried away like some of these people.
Sure.
I can think for myself. I trust what I see. So anyway, I don't know if that's hurt me, but I do. There'll be a couple openings this year, and the doors almost shut. But maybe there's a little bit crack left in there. I can get one more shot, but
I think there's a whole load of people who would love to see you back in a manager's role. I think you brought so much to the game, and we love watching you.
Well, you know what though? I mean, people. How would I say this? I don't want to say a free spirit, but I'm kind of a free thinker. You
don't play by the rules, John.
No, I play by the rules. But if I understand, I have a boss, and everybody's got a boss, and he's got the final say. But I have my ideas on things, right? And I'm going to let you know I'm not. I'm pretty firm on some of that. So I don't know if everybody nowadays to get these jobs with all the analytics and all in the front offices being so heavily involved, it's almost like they don't want anybody that thinks for themselves. They're hiring guys that take their marching orders and do it. And I mean, it's clearly obvious. And there's some good people, some good baseball guys, even some ex-players that are doing it. So who knows? Maybe maybe now I'm the volatile one. I think maybe Donaldson and Batista rubbed off on me or something.
Well, possibly. Yeah, no, possibly.
That wouldn't be all bad.
No. But it would be great to see you back in. If you were able to transport anybody from our current Jays roster back into the teams you were managing, who are you seeing today? And there's also some obvious names in amongst the current roster at the Jays. Who would love to have managed in your teams?
Well, he was getting close anyway. Obviously, Vladdy Jr. Just a generational type player. Guerrero's just so he's he just can flat out hit, right? And he's an enthusiastic guy. I mean, he can fit on any team, But that's the obvious one. Romano, he was coming along. I knew of him when he was close back when I was there. I don't think anybody expected him to be a closer,
Right.
And if they tell you they did, they're lying to you. But you could tell he got a chance to be a good major league pitcher. But he's come on so fast. And one of the best guys in the world. So he would fit. He would have fit in good on our team because you never have enough pitching, Otherwise, you go around that infield and that outfield. Naturally, Springer. Springer. He was the MVP of the World Series with the Astros. Big game player, energetic, all that stuff. He can play on any team, especially when I'm in it. But other than that, it's Gossman's come into his own. Gossman back then was pitching for Baltimore, and he was like a enigma. Nobody could figure him out. They figured great arm, but sometimes it takes time. And he finally figured it out. Now he's a star. So I wouldn't trade many of them, but there's definitely a couple in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the current squad, in terms of 2022, been a streaky season. We've had good runs and then really poor runs, and just thankfully just won the last couple of games against the Cubbies just to get a bit of momentum going again. How do you see this season playing out in terms of postseason?
Well, I definitely think you guys are going to get in. The team's too good, and you know what? Some people have asked me that question, and I've been there. You think you got this game figured out. You think you're on a roll as a team. And it's never that easy. Some sports you physically overpower other teams, right? Baseball, you can't. Baseball is such a skill. And if you're playing, you can play. Well, perfect example. They come off a great road trip, right? Boston, New York, the two toughest places to play. Boston's having an off year, but regardless of that, it's hard to win in Fenway. It's hard to win in Yankee Stadium. And they had a good road trip. And you come back and you got the Angels team's been scuffling all year, but I don't know what happened that first night. They got blown out pretty good. But then next game, it's Ohtani. So I don't care what that team's record says. Ohtani's going to be a handful. Now, they had Manoah going against him.
Yep.
You like your chances. And, of course, they ended up obviously scoring, that one off of Manoah and then open it up later. But and people obviously the sky is falling now. How can you lose the Angels? Well, you know what? Good, just like the really good and great teams in it during the season, the bad teams have good streaks too. I mean, good streaks, right? They get hot for whatever reason. And I just saw so the Angels won those 3, and then I think they took the first 2 from the Yankees out there in Anaheim before the Yankees won last night. See, so I mean, who knows? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, you think you got it figured out sometimes, but it's a roller coaster ride. The good teams stay out of those lows. They're not quite in those lows as long as the lesser teams.
Yeah.
But it's and then the baseball is so mental, right? That if you can control your mind, if you're tough and you can take all the shots and you can take all the heat and have confidence, you're gonna do all right. Same thing for a team. You start scuffling or you start hearing the your fan base is going, what's going on? The sky is falling, all this. You hear it, and you feel it because those are the people you want to please, right?
Sure.
And that makes it difficult. And they're human beings, and they, if individual players get hot and cold, teams get hot and cold. If especially this kind of, let's say that most of baseball is this way now, but the way the offenses are built, let's say especially the Blue Jays, they live and die with the home run. We were the same way, but I mean, so what happens is, home run hitters, that style of hitters, they get hot and cold, and the consistency is just not there as, say, some of your big average hitters and guys, that line drive type hitters. There's a lot of swing and miss, right? So if these guys cool off, if enough of them in your lineup cool off at the same time, it's tough now. But what everybody loves and where they form their opinions is when everybody's hot and you just take off and there's no stopping it. And so when things go sour, it's why can't we be that way all the time? But that's it's just opposite. Guys cool off, and then it gets in your head a little bit, and that confidence wavers a little bit. And all it takes is one good game. Everybody exhales, relaxes, and just like they're playing the Cubs. Well, everybody going in. You come out of New York, Boston road trip, and you got, I think it was Anaheim, the Cubs, and I think maybe going to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Three teams in baseball with the worst record. So you think, okay, this is where we get fat, and ideally that's the case. And a lot of times you do, but it's never that easy, And but as long as you're getting a good effort out of these guys, if somebody's half-assing it or going through the motions or their mind's wandering, that's when then you got a problem. But if you're getting a great effort, sometimes they try too hard,
Yeah, I thought it was a great response from Tio in terms of he'd had a couple of there's the foot injury that was playing up, and then there was the whole debacle about him being put out at second base, not hustling down the line, and he just looked a little bit out of sorts in a couple of games. But to see him come back yesterday, great catch, homer, is exciting to see, and there was more energy, I thought, in the team over these wins, and just that sense of joy again about playing, whereas that seemed to have been sort of lost a few games back. Are you a big fan of things like the home run jacket? Do you think that's a good addition to?
Hey, don't get me started on that. It's not
okay.
I'm not just speaking of the home run jacket. In baseball in general, right? Some teams wearing the cowboy hats. Some guys put these guys in these cart and they run them down the dugout, and it's like, I am a little bit older, but it's like, really, is that because what happens is it's like teams are down 8, 9, 10 nothing in the late in the game. A guy hits a home run, they still do it. It's like, hey, where's our focus at? I mean, really, at least let's have some respect for the fans who paid a lot of money for these tickets to act like we're trying here. We're serious, Yeah, I don't like that. The baseball is a big business now, and it's in the entertainment business, and fans love it, and the younger generations love it, right? So that's why they do it. But I think it would drive me nuts. And where it would really show up to me is if we're not playing well, we're losing, especially on that particular night or whatever, I would have a problem with it, and I might have to put an end to it. But It doesn't matter what I think because I'm not there, right?
Well, they did have that one game. I think, if I remember, it was Springer who got a home run sort of late in the game, and the jacket didn't come out because it's just the game had gone and stuff. So,
well, remember wasn't it the big motto they put out in baseball last year, the year before, something like "Let the boys play" or something? Or remember there was okay, but let's also respect the game a little bit too, Anyway, Brilliant. It's a different day and age for us old timers.
Well, absolutely. Nothing stands still, as they say. Gibby, really appreciate your time. We said we'd go about half an hour, and I think we're already up to about 50 minutes. So we have.
Well, let's round it off to an hour. You got any more? I'll give you 2 more.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, yeah. Okay.
2 more questions. We'll round it up. And then I'll come back again someday.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, no, absolutely love that. I was just thinking in terms of when Charlie was fired and John Schneider came in, do you feel that was a good appointment at that moment in time? And do you see that as I know he's in as an interim manager, but do you see that perhaps being extended?
It's hard for me to say because not knowing actually what's going on with the team and the clubhouse and all that. It surprised me like probably most people because the team was in a playoff spot, right? They've been struggling. They come off there. I think they had a bad road trip out west, which isn't uncommon. Most teams they go out west, but obviously something wasn't right in amongst the team and the connection with the front office or something, right? Because it's very rare that you replace a manager when the team's in a playoff spot. When I took over in 2004, we stunk, right? That's generally what happens. So, it caught me off guard, but, I've got no idea what was going on behind the scenes. There's so much, a lot of times that fans have no idea, GM and managers, they start butting heads over something or, I don't know if that's, that could be the case. I've got no idea. If players turn on you, if the wrong players turn on you a little bit, you're done. Forget it, Yeah. And there's a great quote by, I think it was Casey Stengel. What he said, the key to managing, or the key to success as a manager is something like you got to keep the 5 guys on the team that hate you away from the 5 guys on the team that are undecided. That are trying to form their own opinion, and nowadays, they're not going to replace a player, that manager's out. And so I don't know, maybe something like that. I don't know. Something was off, obviously. I met Charlie. I didn't really know him. I know John Schneider. He was coaching the system when I was over there. Good guy, good baseball guy. I think he'll do fine. But I was a little bit surprised. But you know what? That's what happens in the sport sometimes.
Yeah, and it happens in any sport, doesn't it? Where we see it a lot in Premier League soccer here, where managers, my local side, Bournemouth, they've just sacked their manager only 4 games into the season. Haven't started.
4?
Yeah.
Or were they 0-4?
No, they've won 1.
They won 4-0.
Yeah, no, 1-3. So they haven't had a great start to the season, and he's gone, and sport just moves on. It doesn't stand still for anybody. The game goes on with or without us, whether we can believe that or not. Yeah. So there was one thing I was going to say. We actually have a little bit of a personal connection, which you won't be aware of. So my last game that I actually got to see live was your very last game at Rogers Centre against the Astros. And so I was there for all the celebrations and the thank you Gibbies and all that sort of stuff. So what was that day like for you? Because I think, if I remember, did you finish in Baltimore on that season? I think,
we finished up there in Toronto, and then we went down to Tampa.
Oh, Tampa!
But in the last game of the season, I Russell Martin managed the game. I didn't even put my uniform on, man. I sat in my coach's office in my civvies, man.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was really an incredible day. We had talked with the front office about how we were going to approach that. It was just everybody knew I was gone, right? they would have fired me, but I had no problem leaving because I've always felt that a new front office should get their own manager, right? I mean, I think that's very important. They inherited me, and we also knew that they couldn't do anything when they came in 15, right, after that season, because things were going too well, and then 16 we got back in it. But you knew once the team started fading and we were getting older as a team, they were going to make some changes, and that's definitely what happened. So, but I left, and I didn't know what to expect on my last day there. I really didn't. Over time I'd fallen in love with the city and the country, and I actually, my father was until he was in the U.S. Air Force. We were stationed in Goose Bay, Labrador, up on the East Coast. Oh. I played my first Little League baseball game in Canada. Right, that's where I got started. Yeah, and anyway, so I had a connection to Canada, and I love the people. I love the country. And I thought I was I was leaving people. I think people were. I was hoping we were going to remember me as a good guy, or to try to do things right. And my reception in that last day was unbelievable. Every time I went to the mound, they cheer. And the funny thing is, it was that last game. It was like a bullpen day, right? So we were going to have to use at least 5-6 pitchers, right? So I'm thinking, well, if every time I go to the mound, they're going to be going crazy. I said, they're going to think I'm doing this intentionally just so I can go out there. So, but the funnest thing, the thing I remember most about that day, the great reception, everything like that. We brought up a kid named John Birdie, who's playing for the Florida Marlins now, right? Doing a great job down in Florida. He'd been in our minor league system forever and had like 4 or 5 concussions. And he wasn't viewed as a big prospect, but he was like an MVP on every team he was on because he was just a good baseball player and an even better individual, right? But he wasn't one of those fair hair boys of the future of the franchise type thing. And so he wasn't on the roster, so it would have been tough to bring him up in a lot of circumstances. But there was also some times they could have, but well, you know what? He's a journeyman, he's older, really. And that I hated that, right? Because I knew what this kid was about. I knew the guys he had played for in the minor leagues. I said, if you can ever get this guy on your team, you'll love him, right? So anyway, something happened. This is September. You expand the rosters anyway, so you can have 40 guys, right? And we're going down to the last week of the season. Something happened where we needed a body, believe it or not. And so I told him in the front office, I said, hey, let's bring Birdie up. And they were kind of, but something fell in line where almost we had to. I said, I mean, come on, if there's ever a time to do the right thing, this is it, right? This guy's been great to the organization. Whether he makes it or not, you may want him to, you're going to want him to do something with him. And you know what? Now he can tell everybody he knows he made it to the big leagues. He deserved it. Now he finally can say, you know what? And he can answer some questions. So they bring him up, and I said, regardless of what the front office says, I'm going to play him every stinking game here on out. The guy's been waiting. He's been tremendous. I don't even remember if somebody was hurt at second base or what. So he gets in there, and he did a great job anyway. But point of that last day of the season, I go out to the mound, make a pitching change, and the players a lot of times they'll come to the mound, they're standing around there, and I look over, and every time I go out there, they're doing something on the big video board, right? They put my fixed picture up there, and so John Birdie's standing over there on the side of the mound, and I said, "Come here a minute, man." And so he comes up on the top of the mound, standing on the rubber, like right next to me, right? And I said, "Look up there at the board," and so that he can get it, he can get up on the board just with me. And I said, just to salute the kid,
Yeah.
And that was my actually favorite time of the whole day because this kid got to start. And now he's doing a heck of a job for Florida when nobody thought he probably was even going to make it. So yeah. But it was a great day. And then of course we finished down in Tampa, and it was a lot of goodbyes. All the players would stop in. During that the final 3 games, sitting around in BS and we.
Yeah. Have you been back to Toronto at all since you left? Have you been to any games at all?
No games. In 19, it was 19. I went up there and did like 3 or 4 banquets, right? The East Coast, West Coast, in Toronto there. and I loved it, man. It was like it was a wonderful thing, and I get up there and question and answer, what have you. But hey, how cold does it get there in the UK? Is it really very cold?
Yeah, not like Canada, not even close. Yeah, so we would be cold.
It's probably more like the US, probably.
Yeah, so here, it's particularly where I am because I'm on the south coast. If we got down to -5,
Okay,
that would be.
Because the reason I'm asking, because so they say, okay, I got a bank what I'm going to go do in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, right?
Oh, grief.
Out there in the prairie, right? I'd never been there. I knew on the map where it was, and there wasn't a whole lot out there. So I fly into Jamie Campbell, and he's doing it with me. So we hop on a plane and go out there. 50 below zero. I'm not exaggerating. It's 50 below. So we get there, and it was at this little hotel, like almost like this little inn. So we get up the morning of the thing, and then we asked the guy working at the desk, "Is there any place to get anything breakfast around here?" He said, "Yeah, there's right down the street. There's a place." So we go out and walk. It's only about 100 yards, and the wind's whipping. I had a big park on. At least I was ready. I cannot believe how cold it was. But every time somebody asks me about it, have you ever been back to Toronto or banquets? That thought always comes up. 50 below, people think, no way, you're crazy. I said, well, and then people, you're talking about some tough people, man. They live on that, 50 below is rare, but it's cold, man.
Crazy stuff. You're obviously very well loved. Great to hear those stories. Gibby, thank you so much. I can't say how grateful I am to spend a bit of time with you.
I gotta say one thing though,
of course,
it has been wonderful. But I tell people all the time, it's like a funeral, right? Have you ever been to a funeral and the guy that died gets a terrible eulogy? No, everybody says what a great guy he was. There's some people in the audience go, "That guy was an idiot, man. I'm glad he's gone." But then they go up there showering with praise. I say, maybe this is like a funeral.
Oh man, not at all. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
No,
nobody's ever described the pod as a funeral, but maybe there's some reality there. So just tell us what's your pod going to be called?
The Gibby Show.
Oh, the Gibby Show. Okay, that's nice and simple. Excellent.
You said, you said the podcast. Oh,
yeah, your podcast. What's your podcast going to be called?
The Gibby Show, and then the book's going to be called Gibby. How appropriate, huh?
Brilliant.
Hey, I've been known as a simple dude. I guess we'll keep that simple too, right?
Absolutely.
No confusion.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Keep it all the same. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you ever do fancy coming to Europe, please let us know. Love to see you and have a beer with you or whatever, and show you some of the sites.
I do want to travel. Travel overseas, and my wife does too. She's never been over there, so you never know. I got to tell you, I love the accents in Great Britain, right?
Yeah.
I hope people that are watching this, they can understand me at all, because very few people can where I'm from.
No, we can understand you.
Because you guys got that language down to T, and it's proper and it sounds great. Where I come from, the South is like we understand each other, but it's like illiterate, So if people going, what did he just say? If they're saying, what did he say? What did he say? Well, I hear it all the time, so don't feel bad.
Not at all. I've got some friends, Jays fans, who are up in Scotland, and the Scottish accent again is very different to what we sound like in England, and it's hard sometimes understanding a Scottish accent. Totally get it. Anyway, Gibby, thank you so much.
Hey, you guys sound really smart, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we can put on a front, certainly. Thanks for your time. It's been so cool chatting to you. We wish you well with whatever you're going to do next, obviously with the pod and the book particularly, but whatever happens down the road for you, got our thoughts, and much love to you and your family.
Hey, thank you. I really enjoyed this. I'd love to do it again. We'll get my show kicked off, and then we'll do this down the road. And I can't thank you enough for getting me on here. I didn't know what to expect, but it's a great show.
Great.
You're very knowledgeable, and you're a true fan, and it's glad I can share with some folks over the ocean. But I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, been great chatting with you. It's amazing to hear your side of the story, of the memories that you have helped make for fans like us, and we're very grateful for that. So yeah, we'd love to have you back again at some point and chat a little bit more.
Chat.
Yeah, chat. Absolutely.
You say chat, we say bullshit.
And on that, yeah. And on that night, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you soon.
The Red, White, and Blue Jays podcast is a production of Blue Jays Fans UK. If you've got a Blue Jays story to share, let us know. Email us at bluejaysfansuk@gmail.com. And follow along on Twitter and Instagram at Blue Jays Fans UK. I'm your announcer, Jim Langton. Thanks for listening.